Looking at Georgia Tech, how do they, I know their defensive numbers are good, but what style of defense do they?
They're a very, very good, tough, hard-nosed man-to-man team. And the term in basketball that's very popular now is pack. They pack it in around the basket, make it very hard for you to get layups and post feeds.
You know, yesterday was as animated as I've seen you. Maybe I could hear you more clearly because there weren't as many, there were no students there yesterday. But I mean, you were very animated and really getting upset at some points in the first half. Does this team maybe need that in the sense that they just seem to be sort of daydreaming a little bit?
It does. It was one of the things about what I noticed when we didn't have Durant. This team is made up of a lot of nice guys, a little bit laid back. And there's a term, we don't use it frequently, but my staff knows it. It's called the emotional arousal level, 1 through 10. And you have different guys that play at their best depending on how emotional they are, right? So a guy like Kevin Garnett in the NBA is probably like an 8 or a 9. Very upbeat, very high energy. If he were low-key, he wouldn't play nearly as well. But then you have other guys like a Ray Allen, who's kind of a low-key kind of guy and catch-and-shoot kind of guy. His emotional arousal level, where he plays at his best, is a cool, calm, and collected maybe 3 or 4, right?
You've got a lot of 3s and 4s on this team, I think.
I do. We have guys who are kind of laid back and easygoing. So sometimes when they're at a 2, the only way to get them up to a 3 or a 4, where they're going to play at their best, is to get on them and push them and get into their psyche. However, I don't want to get them to 7 or 8 where they're totally out of control now. They don't feel comfortable at that level and they're making a lot of bad decisions. But I don't want them, like against Indiana State, we were at a 1. Emotionally, we just were not there.
Is it fair to say Julian's probably the only 7 or 8 on the team? Just a natural 7 or 8, or?
I'd say Eric Swope is probably there, Raphael is probably there, Julian's probably there. Duran is probably a 6, 7. But Shane and Kenny and Trey McKinney-Jones, they're probably all around 3 or 4. Now they're not real low. Like I had guys that were like 2s. And they were good players too. I mean, it's just, some guys play with no emotion. Other guys need that excitement in the game. That's why certain guys play very well in front of big crowds, and they don't play very well when the gym is empty.
Well, what were you when you played?
Me, I'm a 10.
Coach, obviously every ACC game is important, but how critical is it to get off to a good start on conference play? I think last year you guys lost the first 2. How
well, again, it's an 18-game schedule, but it's very, very good to get off to a good start and play from out in front. It's like a basketball game. I'd rather be ahead at halftime than behind. But, like last night, if we're behind, and we buckle down and end up finishing strong, that's very good as well. But you'd like to be strong throughout, very, very consistent in your performance.
I find it interesting when you talk about last night about LaSalle went small, so you had this one. Because basketball, everybody talks about big people, but is it easier for teams to go small and force the big team to come down, or the guys to go big and force the other team to come up?
That is a great question, and it really depends on your personnel. Now, our big guys, I shouldn't say our big guys, we have one big guy, Kenny Kaji, who, he's a perimeter player. He's not a poster player. You can't just take advantage of your size with a guy who wants to play at the three-point circle. He's more comfortable facing and shooting than he is with his back to the basket. So the reason you go small is if you can take advantage of your size and beat them up inside and just score right at the rim, do that. But if you can't, because at the other end you can't guard the three-point shot. See, the whole thing is about, can you defend? So if you're getting twos at the rim and they're getting threes from the perimeter, 3 is more than 2. If they make 10 and you make 10, they're ahead 30-20. So in the first half, I went big. I went with Rafael Akavic-Uri and Tanya Jakiri. What did they do? They buried 2 threes on us. And then I had to ask myself the question, can we stay with bigger guys or should we go small? We decided to go small. That didn't work so well either because they went on that run at the end of the first half and had an 11-point lead. So we cut that to 6, and at halftime, we just got our players to play more aggressively, and that really worked.
So basically, things kind of changed with that 86, 87 three-point thing coming in there too.
Yeah, 1986, 1987 season was the first season for the 3, and it's changed college basketball.